Thanks for tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more WNBA news. And of course, with the WNBA season arriving in a couple of weeks, there are a lot of mock drafts for the next season already. Now, most people think it's too early because we don't know the seedings for the teams at the end of the season. We don't know where teams will be drafting. We don't know how the prospects will fare this upcoming NCAA season. But of course, that doesn't matter to the mocks. We're just talking about the status of things where they are now and where teams are probably predicted to draft in the next draft. Because I believe this 2027 draft will be the most important draft and it will be the best draft yet in the WNBA. Just because of the parity, because of the talent, because of the big name, because everything that's online with the new CBA, everything that's online for the next CBA and the bargaining power and the leverage that these players will have against the league. So it's very important to get that money above the $1 million threshold where it is now to get it to even possibly 10 million for the highest bidder or for the highest talent in the WNBA. So I believe these players will be the nucleus or the start of the catalyst of that movement, and it starts in the 2027 draft. So this draft definitely has the potential to be the best because of the draftees and on most or the consensus number one pick in the WNBA draft will be Juju Watkins to whatever team. Most people are projecting that that will be the Portland Fire, which will be a game changer for them because you're starting off with a central piece in the WNBA, essentially what the Indiana Fever got in Caitlin Clark, what the Las Vegas Aces got in Asia Wilson. All of these pieces are essential to what the WNBA is now. And I believe Juju Watkins going number one will truly be one of those important pieces. So she's coming off that knee injury, sat out all last season, but this last season of hers at USC, I think, will be special as well because of the talent that they have. A young Jazzy Davison will be coming back as a sophomore. They have Smith coming back as well. And you mix all of these pieces together, and I think them making the NCAA tournament second round without Juju, with Juju, I believe you're getting at least to the championship. But I have them running through most teams next year and hoisting that trophy. But I think Juju will be an essential part of what the WNBA needs. And then second, surprisingly, they have Madison Booker at number two over Hannah Hidalgo. And I believe it's because of her size and skill set and what she might be able to do in the league from just being versatile. So she might be Jonquel Jones 2.0 uh, with a better handle because she's a bigger body. She can dribble the basketball. She can pull up from the mid range. She can shoot the three. She can defend. She's long. She's rangy. All these great things that any team could take. And they're projecting her at number two over Hidalgo. And I think essentially because of size. Because if it's Hannah Hidalgo is 6 foot, I think she's probably competing with Juju at one because of her skill set. But Juju is a unique talent that can put up 40 or 50 points on any given night, and I think she's going to do numbers as well in the WNBA. But Madison Booker is a unique skill set, a unique talent that you can't afford to miss on that pick, especially being the best available. So even if she went number one, I wouldn't be surprised. But Juju has more star power. She does have a unique skill set that most talents don't have, especially just being that 6 foot. Hidalgo at three, and when I talked about that already, if she was 6 foot, she probably would be battling number one with Juju. She just unique in terms of her scoring prowess, the way she can steal the basketball. She was getting double digit steals and was getting triple doubles and getting to the basket. She's essentially the female Allen Iverson, if you want to compare her to an NBA player of any kind. She's just very energetic. She doesn't get tired. Her stamina is out of this world. She has energy beyond belief. And what she was able to do with the Notre Dame team last year without Olivia Miles, without a Sanaya Citron, without a Medi Westbell, was very phenomenal. She really didn't have a star on her team. She had Cassandra Prosper, who is a very good player, but she's not a star. So essentially, Hidalgo was doing this by herself, and to see what she can do in the league would be very exciting. Luckily, we only have to wait another year, so around this time next year, she'll be getting ready to start what team she'll be with. But she's a essential part of this draft because of what she can do on both sides of the court, and not just on the offensive side. But these first three picks are have defensive prowess, and they're not just some kind of cone that you can go walk by on the defensive end. So, but projected at 4 and 5, they have LSU teammates Michaela Williams and Malaysia Fulwiley. Now, Michaela Williams is one of the best shooters, one of the best pure shooters in this draft, who can go get her own shot, who can take you down on the post, who's an underrated rebounder as well, and an underrated passer in some aspects. But for the most part, she's a pure shooter. But unlike AZ Fudd or like a Tahina Pow Pow, she can go get her own shot. She doesn't need a pick or a screen. She can get it off the dribble. So that's her unique skill set that she brings. Now, Malaysia Full Wally, on the other hand, she is a very phenomenal talent, a little similar to kind of Hidalgo, but she doesn't have the energy Hidalgo has. But she has that defensive prowess to play the passing lanes. And she also has that unique skill set to drive against the trees to the basket, which makes her a very, very valuable asset to have. But I think Malaysia Fulwiley's problem is, and most teams in the WNBA will have to find out next year, is she capable of being a starter? Because her at South Carolina, she never started. She came off the bench with Coach Staley, and then she came off the bench in LSU last year with Kim Mulkey. So, is she capable of being a starter, or can you turn her into a starter, or is her biggest asset coming off the bench? And if that's the case, I don't know if you can draft her at a 5, but I think her talent it warrants that. But maybe this year she'll be a starter at LSU and we'll get to see her in that light. But her coming off the bench is electric, and I'm not sure if she's meant to be a starter. But hopefully, we'll get to see that or have those answers this year. So that's the biggest question. Tessa Johnson at 6, another South Carolina star. Elite shooting, but she's one of those stars that can't really get her own shot. She's mostly getting it off the dribble, off a penetration drive, pass out, or she's wide open somewhere in a corner or at the top of the wing, somewhere like that. But she doesn't get her own shot as much as others, but she can get putbacks and things like that. She's young and she's still long and she's rangy, but I think for her sake, she needs to, her dribbling skills has to, or putting the ball on the floor has to get better, especially getting one of those high picks. But I do think she's one of the better shooters in this draft class. She does have a similar skill set to Pow Pow, and I'm not sure if the offensive system and Coach Staley's system is like that because you had a point guard in Raven Johnson who can get the ball to people, or Malaysia Fulwiley at one point. But then you had shooters like Pow Pow, and you had shooters like Tessa Johnson, who are spot up shooters and who really don't create their own shot or put the ball on the floor. So I don't know if that's part of the system, but they do have similar players back to back like that. Um, and then nextly, another superstar at 8, it was Chloe Kitts. Now she's coming off injury similar to Juju, and she set out a whole year, and we'll get to see her this year for her final season, coming off that knee injury. Um, but she was learning to be a triple double threat before her injury, and she was starting to get more dangerous because she's a very long defender. She can rebound at a high clip. She has great post moves. She's very methodical in the post, similar to a Tim Duncan, I almost say. Her skill set is kind of robotic, but it works. But she's very flashy in the post, and she can get the ball out to shooters, and she can get the ball out to other people in the post as well. So I think she'll be a valuable asset. And depending on how she plays this year, she might move up in the rankings because if she becomes the triple threat, i.e., Olivia Miles, or she has that Tim Duncan like effect on the game coming up and they can get far, her ranking might goes up. So Chloe Kitts is an underrated prospect you should look out for that could sneak into that top 5 range, especially because of her size and because of her experience on winning teams. Uh, South Carolina could have that UCLA effect where they have all these pieces come together and we're able to do great things. So So that leads me to the 10th prospect, which is Ashlyn Watkins. Now, she missed the last couple of seasons due to off court issues and things like that, but she's probably the most athletic prospect in this draft, a prospect that can dunk, prospect that is very good at rebounding, very works pretty much specifically in the post. She can shoot the mid-range game, but that's not her claim to fame. Her claim to fame is in the post, getting rebounds, getting steals, just being a nuisance in the paint, being a rim protector. She's probably the best rim protector in this class. Now, the last class, of course, that distinction went to like Lauren Betts, but this class is Ashlyn Watkins, a prospect a lot of people forgot about, a prospect that can sneak in the radar, can possibly sneak up past top 10, depending on what happens this year. And she might be a little rusty. It might take some time to come down. But with her athletic skill set, I'm pretty sure she's still been working out. She's still been working at her game. And she's going to be somebody to reckon with over this next season and potentially throughout her WNBA career. So rebounding and defense, if you need that, she's definitely a part of that. But she's ranked a little bit lower in the draft. But one of these better teams will get her, so she'll add to a team, i.e., like a Aces, or maybe she'll go with the Fever. That'll be a good spot for her where she doesn't need to start day one, but she will add value day one, and that will be essential for or important for what Ashlyn Watkins can bring. And then lastly, I think at 13, they picked Clara Strack. Clara Strack from Kentucky is very talented. She's very long. I believe she's 6'7", but she's long range defender, has a mid range game, can go in the post. She's projected to go to the Fever if they're down at that far back. But I think if she goes to the Fever, it's going to be scary. Matching her with the Aaliyah Boston. Now, if you put Aaliyah Boston next to Clara Strack, you have one of the bigger front courts in the WNBA, and it's going to be scary because they will be very long and rangy, 2 6'5", 6'7" centers. It's going to be very scary for the WNBA, especially you will be pretty much relegated to shooting mid range and 3-pointers, which will make your game very difficult. So if you don't have that team like a Warriors back in the 2017, 2018 years, it can get very tricky for those teams. But Clara Strack is one of the underrated performers in the NCAA the last couple of years because she's been sitting on a Kentucky team and she's been playing the SEC. And she's had to deal with the South Carolinas, the LSUs, the Oklahomas, all of these Florida, the great teams that they've had. So it's going to be very interesting to see where she goes, but I think she's one of those underrated draft picks as well. And you really can't go wrong in that first round of this draft with the pieces that they have. But of course, Juju Watkins is that consensus number one, but there are a lot of picks capable of the top three picks. So tell me your thoughts about the 2027 mock draft for the WNBA. And until next time, I'll see you next time.